Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to North East Water's series of webinars on master planning and growth. Today's focus is on the Indigo Shire. We've already had one overall regional master planning webinar and another one specifically for Wodonga City Council. And, we're doing the remaining LGAs. So after today, there's 5 more to go in this series. So if you're wanting to view the existing ones, they're available on our website, so you can see the overall webinar that we've done and the one we've done for Wodonga. But welcome, and it's fantastic to have you all join with us here today. Today's presentation is going to be given by myself. I'm Guy Wilson-Brown, General Manager of Planning and Infrastructure, and we'll be joined by Jill Fagan, who's our Manager of Planning and Livability, and Dean Jones, who's our Capital Program Manager. On to the next slide. Thanks, Eddie. So welcome. Most importantly, we start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on and waters on which we meet and on which we're operating today, and we pay our respect to all elders, past, present and emerging. Just some basic housekeeping for today. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website, and we have turned off cameras and microphones as well. There's opportunity to ask questions as we go, so hopefully you can see the Q&A function there, and we'll get to those Q&A questions once we've done our initial presentation, but we're allowing plenty of time to go through those questions in our presentation today. Just a reminder that this will be available, so you'll be able to go back and revisit any of this information that you hear today, and obviously share that with your colleagues. A little bit about North East Water. There's the map of the North East region, that we are a water corporation under the governance of the Water Minister. There are some 39 towns in the North East region that we look after, including 15 major towns that you can see on the screen there that we've done master plans for, including a number of towns in the Indigo Shire, which is what we'll go through today. It's roughly about 120,000 people in the North East region that are our customers. We've got about $1.6 billion worth of assets, so clearly renewal is really important for us. And we've got something about 1,300 kilometres of sewer mains and another 1,800 kilometres of water mains that we look after. We have relatively low water bills. Our average water bill is $1,040. It's one of the lower ones in the state. And in terms of our high-level commitments, it's important to highlight that by the end of next year, we'll be operating under 100% renewable energy, particularly solar and wind, our main resources of green renewable energy. And we're aiming to have net zero carbon emissions by 2035. And I'd also like to highlight, we do have independent customer surveys, and at the moment we have 94% customer satisfaction. So we're really proud of the fact that our customers rate our services, but we're continuing to engage to make sure that we have prudent and efficient investments for our customers moving forward into the next price submission. Thanks, Eddie. A little bit about some of our focus areas. We are a water corporation, so ensuring safe and reliable drinking water is our core service, as well as ensuring that our wastewater is recycled and is discharged in a safe manner and complies with all environmental and health legislation. Climate change is a key focus for us, circular economy, net zero carbon emissions, achieving that roadmap to 2035, as I mentioned previously. Meeting our growth targets, particularly lining up with state government housing targets, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in this presentation. As I mentioned previously, we got $1.6 billion worth of assets. A lot of those assets are hitting the end of their age, so we've got a bit of a renewal spike. So dealing with the renewal of that infrastructure and ensuring that our existing services are maintained and we meet our customer service charter is a particular focus for us. Customer affordability, prudent and efficient services, ensuring that we look after our customers that are suffering financial hardship. Technology, circular economy, partnerships with all people, key stakeholders in the region, local government, developers and consultants, and state government, catchment management authorities, very important in our partnership approach. At the end of the day, it's about us being able to demonstrate we've got an evidence-based approach to our capital investment, which is the focus of today's presentation. And this is also an important part of our engagement for the price submission, which is a 5-year period which starts 26 and goes through to 31. So particularly any feedback we get today with respect to our capital investment is going to be feeding into our investment priority. Our high-level corporate strategy is called Strategy 2040. You may be aware of it. It's been recently adopted by the board, and we spent 12 months engaging with stakeholders and customers before that was adopted. It's based around 3 key pillars, which are really important to us. So healthy environment, arguably that's the most important thing, because particularly feedback we've had from our traditional owners is that without a healthy environment, you don't have a thriving community, which is our second pillar there. And then healthy environment and thriving communities, are important to be part of a prosperous region. So supporting our investment is particularly important for infrastructure planning, which is why that's circled. That's a key outcome of our master planning. But I would stress that a foundation stone is ensuring that we have a healthy environment. So when we look at our investment priorities, we make sure we consider, net positive effect on the environment before we can consider any additional investments. We'll deliver those 3 ambitions with 3 enablers, which was shown there on our Strategy 2040 screen, which leads us into our priority investment page. As I mentioned previously, we've got 15 main townships that we're doing master planning for. They're all the growth scenarios that we've adopted for those master plans align with state government housing targets. That in turn feeds a 10-year capital program, and we'll be talking today about those major investments that we are proposing over the next 10 years, and then working out our priorities for the 5 years of the price submission period. We are in a current price submission. It's actually an 8-year price submission period called Price Submission 4. It's got 2 years to run. Over that 8 period, we'll be investing $350 million, where originally at the start of that price submission, we only thought we were going to be spending $141 million. So this corporation has significantly increased its investment in the last 5 years. Engagement through PS5, the next price period, is really important, as I mentioned previously, particularly with our development and consultants and local government industry. We've had a number of successful development forums already, and we've got one coming up this week, in fact, on the 21st of November. So I encourage anyone that's interested in attending that development forum to register. Thanks, Eddie. All right, I'm now going to hand over to Jill, who's going to talk a little bit about our master plans. Thanks, Jill.
Jill's having some technical issues, guys, so I might jump in here and talk to those slides if you like.
Brilliant, great work, Dean.
Okay, now master planning, as Guy mentioned, we've been undertaking master plans across 15 systems over the last couple of years. It's important to note the master plans are not the same as our capital program, which sets what we invest in and when. That is developed through a separate process where all potential capital infrastructure projects are prioritised to determine which provide the maximum benefit and are invested in first. But we'll go on to explain that a little bit in a little bit more detail. Next slide, please, Eddie. Now, prioritising infrastructure investments. So there is an order in the way that we approach this, and the master planning is that first step. We then move through into a capital prioritisation process that informs the order of investment and sets the priorities. We then work through our price submission engagement to talk through those priorities and understand from community and stakeholders, what their view is on those priorities. And then we submit through to the ESC, the Essential Services Commission, the proposed investments, and that sets the capital program for the next price period. Next slide, please, Eddie. So the investment that we currently have underway and that is proposed for the next 5 years does support the housing growth targets. And the state government has committed to 31,200 new homes in our region by 2051. And as Guy mentioned, there's $350 million of investment in the current price period, and that includes $90 million this year, which is the highest level of investment that North East Water has had. In Wodonga, Wangaratta, Yarrawonga and Bright, we already have 3 years of housing growth approved for construction. And there is the customer focus to ensure that careful planning and prioritisation to ensure efficient use of those funds. The draft housing targets for Indigo Shire is 3,000 new homes by 2051. That's a significant number, but it's important to note that the master planning that North East Water has been developing has adopted a high growth scenario which achieves these targets, and the investment over the next 5 years will create capacity to support the targets. But beyond this, that investment will be subject to ongoing funding prioritisation, and you can see there in the table the 5-year average from 2019 to 2024 is 74 new homes that we've connected. The draft target elevates that up to 111 per year, which is a significant jump. Next slide, please, Eddie. The next few slides are to look at the actual growth planning for each of the townships where master planning has been undertaken in Indigo Shire. You'll see the different colours on each of the maps, and the blue colour represents the short to medium term growth outlook, and the purple colour is the longer term. So when we talk short to medium term, we're talking 5 to 20 years. And the majority of those parcels that are blue are currently zoned for development, but there are some exceptions to this. So for Beechworth, sorry, Eddie. Oh, yeah. For Beechworth, we're not anticipating high growth. There are some areas, particularly to the south of Mayday Hills, that may be rezoned for development, but not significant growth expected in Beechworth. We'll move on to Barnawartha. So Barnawartha is one of the larger growth areas. The township of Barnawartha is supported by the Wodonga network, so we have water supplied from Wodonga and wastewater transferred back to Wodonga, but there is significant areas in Barnawartha, predominantly to the north of the township, that are currently zoned for development and potentially be rezoned for future development in the longer term. Next slide. Rutherglen, Waggunya. So we're anticipating some pretty significant growth in Rutherglen. Effectively, the town will double in size over the 50-year growth outlook. And then there's also quite a lot of development opportunities in Waggunya. You can see the area to the east of the Waggunya township we have identified as a potential growth front. So that will happen over a 50-year period. But there's significant rezoning that will need to occur in Waggunya for that to occur. Kiwatang, Gambalanga, another significant growth area. We do have some existing development in the blue areas, but the majority of the growth in Kiwatangam will require rezoning. As you can see there's growth in both Tangam, Balanga and Kiwa over that 50-year outlook. Yakandanda, again, not a lot of growth anticipated for Yakandanda. It's quite a significant bushfire risk for Yakandanda, which will constrain growth. But we do have some parcels in the Twist Creek Road area that are either currently under development or will be soon. And the land there is zoned for development, so it will come down to what density of development is acceptable, particularly to the CFA, but we don't anticipate overall that there'll be a large number of new connections in Yakandanda over the next 50 years. So the current investment in Indigo Shire Council, through the current price period, which is an 8-year price period, we have had a significant investment in Beechworth, upgrading the wastewater system in Beechworth, which has created capacity, but also brought the system back into compliance from an environmental perspective. We've had an upgrade at the Waggunya water treatment plant, which also supplies the Rutherglen Township. And also we've embarked on stage 1 of the Kiwa Tangam system upgrade. So you can see there's just under $12 million invested to date since 2018 for the Indigo Shire Council area. The early draft 10-year capital program. So the first 2 years of this 10-year capital program is in the current price period, with the remaining 8 being in subsequent price periods. You can see here in the table, we have a spread of projects across the area, across the municipality. Barnawatha, we're investing in a new sewer pumping station, which will create capacity for significant development in Barnawatha. The Beechworth wastewater treatment plant upgrade it's quite a big project, just under $19 million forecast for that project. Kiwa Tangam system upgrades, so stage 2, which will unlock some development in Kiwa Tangam. The Rutherglen wastewater treatment plant upgrade, that will not only create capacity for growth, but it will also bring that site back into environmental compliance, which is important. And Yakandanda, we're concentrating on the water treatment plant in Yakandanda to manage some water quality challenges that we have at that site. And that will support the township for the next 15 to 20 years, that work that we're doing there in Yakandanda. So overall, for the draft 10-year program, it's just under $50 million, which represents $5 million a year. So quite a significant number across the townships in Indigo for the next 10 years. A couple of case studies, as I mentioned, the Beechworth wastewater treatment plant upgrade. This is a $19 million project. We are at the stage where the functional design is complete, and we're anticipating that we'll go to tender on this project early next year, with construction to commence next financial year. It is a significant upgrade for the site. It's a lagoon-based treatment plant at the moment, but we are upgrading it to become a mechanical biological removal plant with aerobic digestion. That will significantly improve the performance of the facility and bring the facility back into environmental compliance. It's a major investment that will increase capacity to support growth in Beechworth, both from a residential and an industrial growth point of view. And it will result in a major reduction in greenhouse gas emissions at this facility. Next slide, please. The Kiwa Tangam system upgrade. So this is stage 2 of the upgrade program for Kiwa Tangam. Just under $15 million. This round of investment will support an additional 135 lots in the town in Tangambalanga, but it does create capacity for future upgrade stages over the next 50 years. So as we continue to invest, that capacity will be unlocked, which will support additional connections to the networks. The functional design is nearing completion. We are in the process of negotiating land for a new tank site and a new pump station site. And some of the works that we can expect in stage 2 is a new drinking water storage tank and booster pump station. We have several water mains and gravity sewers that will be built to service the growth areas. We have a new sewer pump station in Tangambalanga with a new rising main over to Kiwa, and the existing tank in Tangambalanga will be decommissioned as part of this investment. Next slide, please, Eddie. Rutherglen Waggunya wastewater treatment plant upgrade, another important project for North East Water and the communities of Rutherglen and Waggunya. It's a $13 million project with $5 million of that subject to a current grant funding application. This investment will initially support an additional 400 to 500 lots with capacity available for future growth over the next 50 years. So that's a significant increase in capacity for both Rutherglen and Waganya. We expect to commence construction next financial year. It will significantly improve the environmental performance of this site, and it will also result in capacity being created to grow our reuse irrigation networks. Northeast Water and third-party reuse irrigation operations will benefit from the project. The treatment process upgrade will produce a higher class of treated effluent, and there will be a new storage in town for reuse water to supply the existing urban customers. I'll throw back to you. Thanks, Guy.
Great, thanks, Dean. And I believe Jill is back online. Jill, if you're there, are you able to talk to about the upcoming master plans and future webinars?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So today we're focused on Indigo Shire. If you'd like to know more about other master plans in the Northeast Water Service areas, you can come to these other webinars. Each of them is focused on the master plans in that LGA. You can see that we've already had the City of Wodonga one, and you'll be able to access the recording online. So to sign up for future webinars, you just need to head to the Northeast Water Have Your Say page and select the Regional Master Planning Program tile, which you can see highlighted on the right there. And you can sign up to be informed of any project updates. We're also keen to hear from you about our capital investment priorities and what you care most about. You have two options to provide feedback. One of them is to put a comment or a question into the Q&A on this webinar, which you can see at the top of the screen, the little button called Q&A. You can press that and type things in now. Or alternatively, you can provide feedback via our online form, which you'll find under the Have Your Say page under that Regional Master Planning Program tile if you scroll down to the bottom. Back to you, Guy.
Great, thanks, Jill. As I sort of mentioned earlier, anyone that's got any questions, please pop them in our Q&A. So we're now at the time that we will address those questions. So if you've got any, please pop them in the Q&A function now. We certainly value your questions. You know, this is an important part of our engagement process for our price submission. So we certainly encourage you to give us your feedback. We've got one question there, so we'll start with that. So the question is, what will all this new infrastructure cost me as a customer? So I might throw that to you, Jill.
Yeah, absolutely. So Northeast Water is committed to maintaining affordable bills for customers, and our prices are levelised over time so that customers experience gradual bill increases rather than rapid price rises. Over the last 15 years, we've had pretty much flat prices, and we have the second lowest bills in Victoria. And we cannot sustain this level of income to provide the amount of investment that we evidently need to meet the housing targets and support the community. So we will be seeking some price rises above CPI in our next price period. We've undertaken significant new borrowings to fund the extra level of CapEx above the approved price in the last regulatory period. So as part of our price submission engagement, we've consulted our customers on what they're willing to pay for water and wastewater services. Our bill simulator, which was recently undertaken, asked a couple of questions about customer preferences, which is being summarised and then fed through our price submission process, which will inform our price submission. And of course, it's subject, of course, to review by our price regulator, the Essential Services Commission. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jill. I've got another question, which I'll also refer to you, Jill. How do our customers and stakeholders provide input into this process, particularly with respect to the outcomes of our master plans?
Well, we've consulted extensively in developing these master plans. We've consulted extensively with local government because they have the growth planning authority to make sure the growth projections that we're using for our master plans reflect not only the current approved development plans, but also council's own growth strategies and priorities. We've also sought input into our future planning via our regional leaders forum, in which we had CEOs and senior executives from across our region, including from industry and business, First Nations groups, local government, and the North East Catchment Management Authority. And we specifically asked them what they sought from North East Water in how we partner to deliver value to our customers and community. We also conduct regular customer surveys to understand what our customers value from us and how they think we're delivering. And we have regular conversations with developers and other business and community organisations around their intentions in the region and how we work together. So all of this collectively has informed our master planning.
Great, thanks, Jill. A follow-up question we've received about master planning as well, and this relates to that key environmental pillar from Strategy 2040, which is healthy environment. So how do we consider environmental protection and biodiversity when we're considering our master plans, Jill?
Yeah, thanks, Guy. It's a good question because in building the infrastructure that we do, we want to provide multiple benefits to the community, and environmental protection and supporting biodiversity is one of those examples of multiple benefits that we can provide. So we've heard from our customers that this is something that you would like us to invest in, including how we support waterway health. And so we're not the catchment management, but we work with North East Catchment Management Authority in this. So in the master plans, we would have mentioned earlier that we go through an infrastructure optioneering phase where we look at a number of different infrastructure options that will support the needs of the community into the future. And we score them on a multi-criteria assessment. And one of those is definitely environmental protection. Another one of them is also greenhouse gas emissions. And that feeds into I guess, the preferences in how the preferred option is selected. I'd also like to mention that we have quite an active program in integrated water management, which includes how we use purified effluent from our wastewater treatment plants, to work towards things like irrigation of public open space, which also support biodiversity and green spaces. And we work actively with the Council and Catchment Management Authority and First Nations groups on that integrated water management ongoing. Thank you, Guy.
Thanks, Jill. Next question I've got is how will I know when new developments in my town will be commencing? And I'll ask Dean to address that.
Thanks, Guy. As we spoke about earlier, we maintain a forward 5-year capital expenditure program, which you can access through our corporate plan or the state budget papers. These are refreshed and republished each year. The investments from 2026-27 for the following 5 years are subject to the price submission engagement currently underway, economic modelling, review by the North East Water Board and the Essential Services Commission. So by mid-2026, we will have a decision from our price regulator and we'll have more certainty on the capital investments for the following 5 years. Thanks, Guy.
Great, thanks, Dean. Just double check with my team online. That's all the questions we've received in the chat, unless anyone can see anything else there.
We have a couple more questions in the chat, Guy. We've got one from Bev Hoffman. Are there any plans, needs for a Chilterns infrastructure upgrade? Okay,
I'll refer that one to Dean.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. Thanks for the question, Bev. With respect to Chiltern, we don't anticipate very much growth in Chiltern over the 50-year period. There will be some growth, but it will be fairly small scale. But there's always a need to upgrade or renew infrastructure, and as these assets age or performance starts to drop, we do. From time to time, renew water mains, upgrade pump stations, etc. So there is the standard renewals program for Chiltern, but there won't be new infrastructure as such to support growth.
Great, thanks, Dean. And Eddie, you mentioned there's one more question. Could you read that one out, please?
Yes, we have one from Peter. It's a long one, so bear with me. Yakandanda seems to be being left out when looking at capital expenditure and planning, and your general comments are growth. The planning looks to be based on assumptions that there is no real growth, or if there is, it will be limited by rural bushfire authority. Could you please discuss TACT a little more, especially when our research shows strong demand for housing, which is simply not there?
Thanks. I'll refer that one to Dean as well. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Peter. There is some investment in Yakandanda, but given the level of growth that we're anticipating for Yakandanda, that investment is quite modest when you do compare that to other systems that are experiencing high growth. The planning constraints around towns such as Yakandanda are a matter for Indigo Shire Council to talk to, but our understanding is that there are some constraints with respect to bushfire risk for both Yakandanda and Beechworth. So that does hinder large-scale development in places like Yakandanda. But at the end of the day, those decisions rest with Indigo Shire Council and CFA to determine what level of development will be approved in the town. As I said, we do have some investment for Yakandanda, and it is primarily focused on the water treatment plant. But there will be other renewals that will take place over the 10-year period that we're planning for with the capital program.
Great. Thanks, Dean. All right, just checking, Eddie, no more questions?
No more questions.
All right, well, we'll move on. So that concludes our session today. Your feedback is incredibly important, so draw your attention to the QR code on the screen. We'd really appreciate it if you can click on that or take you to just a short survey. We'd really appreciate your feedback if you're able to do that now. If not, we'll be sending a link to the survey along with the recording of today's session for you. Existing webinars and further information are available on our website, so I encourage you, if you need more information, please go to our website. You can always have your say, so you can specifically go to the Have Your Say section of our website, and we really encourage you to provide feedback, particularly in the incoming months as we go through our price submission engagement. So thank you for attending today. We really hope you've found the session informative. If you ever need any further information or you've got any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. But again, thank you for attending. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you at our future webinars. Thanks a lot.